Next, I would like to request our ma'am to welcome Dr. Chintan Vaishnav sir, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission. Next, I would like to request our Director ma'am to welcome Srimati Shruti Singh, Joint Director, DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. I'd like to request Professor Nisri Madam to welcome Dr. Anil Wali sir, MD, FIIT IIT. I'd like to request ma'am to welcome Shri Deepak Parikh, CEO AgriWatch, Director, Indigram Labs Foundation. We have one speaker, Sanjay Jain ji, who will be joining us online. I'd like to request Professor Nisri ma'am to welcome Bala Pesala, sir, founder and CEO, Ayur AI. Next, I'd like to request Nisri ma'am to welcome Shri Kartikeya Baldwa, CEO, KSM 66 Ashwagandha. Now I wholeheartedly request Professor Tanuja ma'am to take over the session. Thank you, ma'am.
Namaskar. Am I audible? Yeah. Namaskar. I am honored to moderate this session involving the dignitaries and experts from across the country and in presence of such an august audience in this grand event of Global AYUSH and Investment Summit. I think this is the most session where our young entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs who are sitting in this auditorium are awaiting for the most. And we have the galaxy of experts, including Chintan Vaishnav ji, who is spearheading the Atal Innovation Mission at Niti Aayog. And we have Additional Secretary, DPIIT, Shruti Singh ji, and we have IITs and IIM, and we have Anil Wali ji, who is mentoring our startup activities, not only at All India Institute, but across the nation, the incubation center and incubating and hand-holding the mentor-mentor relationship. And we have the youngest entrepreneur with us who will be sharing his success story, Karthikeyan ji, and none other than the Bala Pesla, who is heading the Ayur Tech, all the technology IITs from not only Jodhpur, but coming from IIT Chennai and to the Jodhpur, the Ayur Tech, first of its innovative activities supported by Ministry of AYUSH. And the Deepak Parikh ji, who is not the agro entrepreneur, but he is looking after for the medicinal plant entrepreneurs. So we can say the Ayurved entrepreneurs of the future. So it's the galaxy of the experts. I should not come in between, but we take this opportunity to welcome our secretary, Vaidya Rajesh Koteja ji, who is sitting amongst us in the auditorium. Please give big hand. And he is in front of us. And we have the Vice Chancellor, Mukul Patel ji, and it is our secretary's idea to boost up the startup entrepreneurship skills in our AYUSH entire, what we can say, AYUSH system itself. And we have many entrepreneurs, the many leaders, not only on the dais, but off the dais also. So I welcome all of the dignitaries, our young friends who are sitting in this auditorium. And to begin with, may I request Honorable Minister Sri Sripad Yasho Naik ji, who is the one, our own mentor, and who was really the first minister when the Ministry of AYUSH was created. And he has what we can say our own mentor and the guiding force. So may we request you, Sripad Yasho Naik ji, to guide the audience with your beginning remarks, sir. Please give big hand.
नमस्कार। dignitaries on dais of today's function. Professor Sarojani Sriji, Director, AIIA. AYUSH Secretary, Mr. Sri Rajesh Koteja ji. Keynote Speaker, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav ji, Mission Director for Atal Innovation Mission. Srimati Shruti Singh ji, Joint Secretary, DPIIT. Dr. Anil Wali ji, MD, FITTD, IIT Delhi. Sri Deepak Parikh ji, CEO, AgriWatch. Sri Sanjay Jain ji, Chief Innovation Officer, Center for Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship. Dr. Bala Pesala ji, Founder and CEO, AYUSH and CTO. Audio Diagnosis, Adjunct Professor, IIT Jodhpur. Sri Kartikeya Palwaji, CEO, KSM 66. Ashwagandha, success story of globing KSM 66 Ashwagandha. Again, namaste to all young budding AYUSH entrepreneurs, investors, academia, and eminent personalities from various institutes. First of all, I congratulate the Minister of AYUSH for successfully organizing this global AYUSH Investment and Innovation Summit. As mentioned by our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Bhai Modi ji, startups are going to be the backbone of the new India. Today, India is rapidly moving towards hitting the century of the unicorn. I believe the golden era of the India's startup in AYUSH sector is starting now. This summit will enhance the global recognition and understanding of AYUSH education, research, innovation, entrepreneurship. I feel proud to say that this type of platform reflects the vision of our government, which is proactive in supporting our nation's traditional system of medicine in a holistic manner. Dear friends, India's strides in the startup are well known. Our nation is home to one of the world's largest startup ecosystem. Several unicorns have come up in the recent years. The startup ecosystem is also evolving the AYUSH sector. Ministry of AYUSH, Government of India, and specifically our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi ji is actively taking steps to promote the entrepreneurship and innovation in AYUSH sector. The Ministry of AYUSH is determined to relieve and review all and promote the traditional Indian medicine system. Friends, a few days back, All India Institute of Ayurveda, Incubation Center for Ayurveda Innovation and Entrepreneurship, was established at India Institute of Ayurveda, New Delhi, under the Ministry of AYUSH. This incubation center is actively nucleating the duster of the new age venture specific to AYUSH system of medicine and promoting young entrepreneurship, leveraging their academic knowledge. Such innovation centers and the incubator will help in economic growth of the country, and this will contribute to the long-term vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Innovation and technology in the field of AYUSH will help young entrepreneurs to establish themselves before they scale up their ventures, and eventually global recognition of this ancient system of medicine of Ayurveda. It's a matter of a pride for all of us that for the first time in history, All India History of Ayurveda under the Ministry of AYUSH, in association with the Startup India and Invest India, had launched the AYUSH Startup Challenge to encourage the early stage startup to work on innovation in the AYUSH sector. More than 150 startups participated in this challenge under 03 entry categories, that is AYUSH Food Innovation, AYUSH Bio-Instrumentation, and AYUSH IT Software Solution. Friends, I congratulate to the organizer for this type of activities. I also congratulate the top winner of this AYUSH Startup Challenges who were facilitated by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I hope that the winner of this challenge will receive the incubation support and prosper into robust industries. On this occasion, I also invite the potential investor to invest in the venture of these young entrepreneurs and help them translating their dreams into reality. AYUSH Entrepreneurs offers what innovator and investor need. I come to know that the participating several AYUSH startup companies have come up with the innovative solution, which are of immense help to nation and are exhibiting in this 3-day summit. Our government, under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, is taking every possible step to strengthen the innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup ecosystem. Programs like Startups, Startup India and Stand Up India will definitely attract young AYUSH entrepreneurs to start their new venture. Measures like removing the problems of angel tax, simplification of the tax procedure, arranging for government funding, allowing the self-certification of 9 labor and 3 environment law, and removal of the more than 25,000 compliances have taken the process further. Startup runway on the government e-marketplace platform is facilitating the provision of startup service to the government. I firmly believe that our young AYUSH entrepreneurs, with the help of innovation and technology, will build a more inclusive, caring, and sustainable future for all. I have faith in the power of science and the possibilities of innovation to help us achieve that future. I hope this type of summits will lead our nation towards a true Atmanirbhar Bharat. With these words, I once again thanks and congratulate you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Namaste. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, sir, for your opening remarks and your address and blessing all young entrepreneurs and the startup India. And as you mentioned that the startups will be new wealth creators and ease of doing business, and all our panelists will now tell us what exactly is the ease of doing business and what is the ecosystem of the startup. So in this line, may I now request Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission, for his keynote address on infrastructure and developing startup ecosystem related to AYUSH sector. May I request everyone to have a big applaud for our minister and him. And there is a reason to give the clapping, because Chintan Vaishnavji is a socio-technologist and engineer trained to design and build large-scale systems that possesses both human as well as technological complexities. Presently, he serves as the mission director for Atal Innovation Mission, a flagship innovation initiative of the Government of India under auspice of Niti Aayog. Chintan is on leave from the Massachusetts Institute of MIT. He is now also a Massachusetts faculty, MIT faculty, for his present assignment as a teacher, innovator, and entrepreneur. He has split his time between teaching and research at MIT and living and working in with rural communities in India to build solutions that can overcome constraints fundamental to improving human conditions. Sir, we are honored with your presence in this session. We welcome you for your keynote address.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tanuja, for that very generous introduction. Good morning, friends. It's a great privilege to be here, and a great privilege indeed to be a part of this, what do you say, a movement, a gathering storm of sorts, right? Where the ancient field of AYUSH is coming together with this modern innovation movement. And it's a great privilege for Atal Innovation Mission to be a part of creating this and leading this movement. So it's great to be here. I want to talk to young people today. I don't mean young by age. I mean young by from the perspective of somebody who feels they have an idea that can make a difference, right? Since we are in Gujarat, and since many of you may not be from Gujarat, let me tell you a little bit about Gujarati. In Gujarati, the word for old, an old person is ghardo. Ghardo means an older, elderly individual, right? There's another word in Gujarat called ghared. Ghared means old, entrenched traditions. Good or bad doesn't matter. Old, entrenched traditions. That is the word for ghared. So there are two words here. Ghardo, an old person, and ghared, old, entrenched traditions. Somebody very eloquently some time ago said that ghared ma chale te ghardo, which means the person who dogmatically embraces the old entrenched traditions is not willing to change, is the old person. It has nothing to do with your age or anything like that, right? So I am here to talk to young people, irrespective of your age. Let me ask a little question. How many of you here feel that I have an idea that can be a solution, maybe an AYUSH-based solution, but I don't know how to move forward with it. I don't know how to take it into a startup or grow it into a startup, maybe even make a unicorn out of it. If you feel like this, that you have an idea, but you don't know how to move forward, you are not certain about it, please raise your hand. Your age does not matter. Okay. All the way to the back benches, there are people who feel that. That's great. All right. We can help you. We at Atal Innovation Mission can help you. We have been part of building the innovation ecosystem of our nation. Incubators, tinkering labs, community innovation centers, innovation challenges, all of that, along with many other capable parts of the government, DST, the Department of Science and Technology, DBT, the Department of Biotechnology, DPIIT, you will hear from Shruti ji later on. We're building this innovation ecosystem that can take your idea into a startup or a reality, into a real solution. Okay? And today what I want to do is to give you, if you don't know how to get started, even if you do know how to get started, let me give you a 7-point formula. Are you ready? Okay, excellent. Okay, the first thing that you want to do is, if you think you have a solution that can solve a problem, the first thing you want to do is to articulate the problem rigorously, right? Knowing what the problem is and stating it right is 50% of the journey. You see, our education teaches how to solve a problem once somebody states it. In an exam, you will be given a problem and then you have to write a solution. Our education does not teach how to formulate a problem. Very well, right? Formulating the problem is 50% of the journey. I'll tell you my own personal failure in this. In 1994, I worked for AT&T, the Alexander Graham Bell company that makes telephones and other things. And we engineers, out of our arrogance, hubris, whatever you want to call it, we built a video conferencing system at that time. 1994, we are talking about 18 years back. We had many, many enterprise customers who used our telephone systems, and we thought we will build a video system for them because obviously, if we built it, they would really want it. We were building it because we knew how to build it, and that was enough for us to go about it, go about building it. When we came out with this product, it failed miserably. 80% of customers said, why would I want my boss to see me when I talk to them? I actually don't want them to see me. Right? Today we are in this post-COVID world, and we are all used to video conferencing, but at that time, nobody was used to video conference. They didn't think they wanted a video conference. We didn't articulate the problem, not from our perspective, from the perspective of that end user for whom we were creating this solution, right? So if you have a solution in mind, go ask that intended end user that is this really solving a problem that they really have? That's step one, right? Okay. What is step two? Once you know that this is the problem, you want to build a solution, you go build a rigorous solution for it. Not the one that is already in your mind, but think about many, many ways of solving this problem and arrive at a solution that you can build rigorously, right? So build it, test, fail, rebuild, test, fail, rebuild. Keep doing it until you build a great solution. Our incubation centers, Atal incubation centers, and many others in our country can help you do that. So second is build a great solution. Once you have built it, the third is know what is the value that this solution creates. Okay, let me give you an example. In Ayurveda, one of the great successes is Triphala, right? If you say, what is the value quantitatively a Triphala, consumption of Triphala creates for a patient? You may say, well, it saves them from this disease, this discomfort, that discomfort. It prevents them from having to go to a doctor. Their long-term health is going to be better. Whatever those reasons are, you list them out and you say that each of these reasons saves them so much money. You add up that money, you will have some amount, right? X amount of value that I have created for this person. Now, if you say, what is the alternative this person has to Triphala? That alternative is also creating some value, right? Otherwise, why would the person want it? That alternative is creating value Y, let's say. Your X must be greater than Y, right? Or at least equal. And that value that you create is very important to understand quantitatively, because it's very important to understand, pay attention to this. You cannot capture the value that you don't create. Can I say it again? You cannot capture the value that you don't create. Even for a unicorn, when you say that this is a $1 billion unicorn, $100 crore unicorn, their real value creation is much higher than that $1 billion. Therefore, they can capture $1 billion out of it, right? So don't be in an illusion. A lot of people say that it's all hype, that Steve Jobs built this iPhone, and it is a great phone, first and foremost. Build a great solution, create value, right? That's the third point. The fourth point is figure out a way to capture some of the value that you created. Right? You can't capture all of the value that you create, but you can capture some of the value that you created, right? Think about going to a cricket game, a T20 game to a stadium. If you pay 1,000 rupees in tickets per ticket, clearly this game, this experience brings you value of entertainment, being with friends, watching a game, having fun, whatever, higher than 1,000 rupees for you to shell out 1,000 rupees from your pocket, right? And the ticketing mechanism is a business model by which they are, I mean, business model is the technical term people throw around, right? But it is a way for you to capture some of that value into your own pocket. So our incubation centers can help you create that business model. Okay, so that's the fourth point. The fifth point is tell a great story. A great idea that can't be told as a great story is not a great idea. Okay? You pick your favorite leader now or in the history, whenever, it doesn't matter. If this leader was not a great storyteller, I will sit down right now. Okay? Learn to tell a great story. We know how to tell a great story. Our incubators can help you tell a great story. Why? So that your idea becomes worthy of an investor, among other things, right? Okay, so that's the fifth thing. Tell a great story. Now, I've told you 5 things, right? Problem, find a problem, articulate a problem, build a solution, know what value you created, have a way to capture some of that value through a business model, tell a great story. The last 2 things I want to tell you of the 5, so 6 and 7, are more about attitude. Don't do it to make money. Making money is very important, right? Otherwise, how will you survive? I have nothing against making money, but do it to solve a problem. If you solve a great problem, money will come, right? These days, there is this ad on the television, and I'm not advertising for anybody here, but they say that agar aapka dream bada ho, to koi akela nahi hota hai. That is the thing, right? Solve a problem. The last and very important for AYUSH sector is think globally from the get-go. Okay? Your unicorn is in global market because health is a global problem. There are 7.9 billion people in this world. Imagine 8 billion people, let's say. Imagine serving 1 in 8 and that one person giving you $1. You have a unicorn. Okay, so think globally from the get-go. Atal Innovation Mission has 68 Atal communities, incubation centers, several of them LMCP, the LM College of Pharmacy in Ahmedabad, GUSEC. These are AIC incubators. There are many others across the country. Our nation has more than 700 incubators at this point in time. We have also built Atal community innovation centers. come to these places. They will help you smoothen your journey from your idea to an investor-worthy enterprise. Okay, I want to end by quoting a personal story. With my first brush with the potential of AYUSH. My mother, Dr. Uma Vaishnav, we lost her last year. She was a physician. She was a great physician. She was a great physician, a family physician, because I have seen her many times that for many conditions, when her allopathic knowledge came to an end, she sent her patients to Ayurvedic practitioners or naturopathy practitioners or homeopathy practitioners or turned them to different people because she knew that those ways of solving problems were better, if not equal. Right? What I saw in her was that she was able to keep that patient at the center and forget about the pathways to solving their problems. You keep that global patient at the center. Come together, combine your knowledge with innovation and entrepreneurship, and realize what we have come to know as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in real action. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच चिंतन वैष्णव जी। आपने सही में स्टार्टअप का चिंतन कैसे करना है उसके 7 पॉइंट वैल्यूज बताए। आपने बहुत कुछ छोटे से समय में बताया, छोटी सी आशा, आसमानों को छूने की आशा ये बताया, और देयर इज अ व्हाट वी कैन से स्काई इज द लिमिट एंड ओशन इज द अपॉर्चुनिटी। ये आपने कैसे उसको हम स्टार्टअप में यूनिकॉर्न में परिवर्तित करती है ये भी हमें बताया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अपने एक्सपीरियंस से। नाउ कमिंग टू जो आप सब लोगों को स्टार्टअप कैसे करना उसकी आइडिया तो हो ही गई, इसके 7 पॉइंट पता चले, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट में ये मनी कैसे आता है, कहाँ से इसकी, विच आर द स्कीम्स विच गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो हैव। सो वी हैव अ वेरी डायनेमिक लीडर from the government side, Srimati Shruti Singh, IAS from the Haryana Kerala, Joint Secretary, DPIIT, that's the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, for the address, for the August, I just request her for her address on government support to startup ecosystem in India. Before she proceed, I just would like to give the introduction that she is a IAS from Haryana Cadre. She has a wide experience in areas of industrial policy and promotion, industrial investment, district administration, land revenue management, SC/ST welfare, social justice and empowerment. Since 2018, she is on central deputation to the Government of India. We are really pleased to have you, madam. We wholeheartedly support you, and we look forward for your continuous support for developing startup ecosystem in AYUSH system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, madam. 2004 में मैंने जब IAS का एग्जाम लिखा था ना, तो इस तरह की भीड़ उस हॉल में होती थी जहां पे टॉपिक होता था हाउ टू क्रैक सिविल सर्विसेज। 2022 we get this crowd when we talk about how to make a startup. This is the kind of energy is absolutely exemplary. India today is the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the whole world. We have more than 68,000 startups recognized in the country and many more coming up. आपको पता है रोज कितने स्टार्टअप बन रहे हैं? 80 every day. It's the highest number in the whole world. The rate at which we are growing is absolutely exponential. कुछ और statistics. Almost 49% out of these 68,000 are coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. यानी बॉम्बे, बैंगलोर, दिल्ली नहीं, tier 2 और tier 3 cities से हमारे आधे startups बन रहे हैं. 45% of these startups have at least one woman as director, and the percentage in this hall is so big, I'm sure the number is going to grow. Our unicorn story is something which the whole world is looking at. हम जल्दी 100th unicorn के करीब पहुंच रहे हैं. आज सुबह ही मैं सोच रही थी that it will be such a pleasure if the 100th unicorn is from the AYUSH sector, and good news might be coming our way soon. And I hope this sector, which is garnering so much attention across the world, will see a unicorn soon and more startups coming up. India has a rich cultural legacy, and we as Indians are very fortunate to be the proud inheritors of this vast expanse of traditional knowledge, of genetic resources. Since centuries, our local communities, our rural, tribal communities have been using the locally found natural products to make these medicines, to make these healing products. I wouldn't even call them medicines. They're healing products and lifestyle products, which are now a part of our DNA, which has given us the immunity that the world has seen over the last few years. And now, AYUSH, Ayurvedic products, is what has become a fad worldwide. Is tradition meet our traditional knowledge? How should we boost the system of Ayurveda across the whole world? Not only will this give a boost to our economy, not only will it create employment, it will also give a lot of recognition to the tradition of our local communities who are living in different parts of the country. Unko bhi ek world over the last few years, especially during COVID times, the kind of center stage that AYUSH products have got is absolutely exemplary. I hope आप सबने वो exhibition बाहर देखी जो 30 startups ने लगाई है. Each of the product that they have used, some are tech based, some are product based. That is something to give you also encouragement to come up with these new ideas and sell them. There are a number of schemes that DPIIT runs. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry is the ministry that implements a number of schemes. Idea से startup तक कैसे जाना है, Atal Innovation Mission से Dr. Chintan has shared the path with you. The funding that comes in, I'll just sum up in the next few minutes. The first stage of funding is seed funding. जहाँ you're ready for a prototype, आपने prototype बना लिया है, आपको थोड़ा और उसको push करना है, but you don't know what to do, you're beyond bootstrapping. That is the stage at which we come in through our seed fund scheme, which was launched last year by the Honorable Prime Minister. We fund startups through incubators across the country. That is one scheme I would want you to look at on our portal and apply for that kind of seed funding. It is allowed for a startup which is less than 2 years old, so at very early stages. For more mature startups that have raised funding from the ecosystem already, we run our fund of funds schemes through SIDBI. It's a 10,000 crore scheme, which is run through AIFs. SIDBI runs this for us. Please go to the website, look at that scheme also. We keep organizing seminars and workshops at schools, colleges. National education policy may be up, startup को और innovation को कैसे school curriculum में लाया जाए, इस बारे में चर्चा हो रही है. It's going to become a part of the school curriculum also now, so that kids at a very young age know how to build their own startup. Employment seeker ना बने, आप employment दें. Startups का employment generation का potential बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. It's a service you're doing to the nation by actually creating a company and giving employment to people across the country. These were just a couple of ways in which we handhold. There's a lot of mentorship support that we provide. जिस भी बड़ी इंडस्ट्री से, जिस बड़े यूनिकॉर्न से आप mentorship चाहेंगे, that is something that DPIIT helps you in. There are free knowledge sessions that we give and a host of other things. So I just hope that all of you try to mature that idea now and reach out to us in case you need any. Otherwise, I'm sure that all of you are capable. The ecosystem is so mature in the country today that handheld holding is immense, and the mentorship that you will get is absolutely immense. With this, I would just want to end And my best compliments again to the Ministry of AYUSH, to the government of Gujarat, and to all you youngsters for the kind of energy that you have. And my best wishes to you for taking the momentum forward and for taking India on the road to prosperity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. From seed of fund to fund of funds, and from the mentorship and incubation support, you covered everything, and you have shown your willingness to support the AYUSH system as well. So I'm sure will each institution across India will take the advantage of this scheme and will definitely seek your support in reaching to each and every institution of the India. And on this platform, we would like to thank you for hosting the Startup India Challenge, where we received very, very overwhelming response of 167 challenges. And the first of its winner was also being awarded by our Honorable Prime Minister on the first day. And the evaluators are also being with us. So one of the evaluator for the finding out the winner from the startup challenges, as Madam mentioned in the Startup India Challenge, is none other than Dr. Anil Wali. And as you mentioned, the mentorship is really required. ये स्टार्टअप करना, और सर ने जैसे बताया कि फेल्यूर्स बहुत आते हैं, फेल्यूर आते हैं, फिर सुधारना, फिर गलत करना, फिर सुधारना, इसमें अच्छा कैसे है, आगे कैसे लेना. So all this mentorship is required in the incubation support required in mentor-mentee relationship. There should be a system where industry academia partnership is required. So it is none other than Dr. Anil Wali. May we request you to just tell the August gathering about how industry academia partnership lead to a successful startup. And now I would please give big hand because वो हमारे mentor है AI का, उनके साथ MOU में 7 ऑलरेडी हमारे टेक्नोलॉजी सॉल्यूशंस को भी आप मेंटर कर रहे हैं. And I would like to introduce him as a Anil Wali has a multifaceted experience with respect to R&D management, training, entrepreneurship, IPR policy, strategy, open innovation, etc. Besides looking at industry issues, Anil Wali is overseeing technology transfer, very important, because whatever technology we develop, that should be transferred into the market, enabling partnership, capacity building, and driving innovations and incubation in the academia. Currently, he is organizing the establishment of research parks. Dr. Anil Wali has piloted several industry academia models from FITTM. So may we request you to bless us and please tell your success story, how this academia partnership transfers into the successful startup venture. Eagerly waiting. Thank you.
So, respected Shripad Naikji, dignitaries on the stage, off the stage, and dear friends. First of all, I'd like to thank Madam Nasarji for actually giving me this opportunity to come back to my Karma Bhumi and also second time over to this hall. It's actually a great honor for me whenever I come and share or try to share whatever little time I get with my people, with my audience. As a matter of fact, Dr. Chintan has actually given you a very good overview of how to initiate a startup and the journey. In fact, I entirely agree with him when it comes to storytelling. The narrative is extremely important because that would actually tell you how clear you are. So the thing is, I think after what he has said, there is very little for me to say. As a matter of fact, the encouragement by the minister, the policy making by Shruti ji, and of course followed by I am to be followed by the hardcore entrepreneurs, that actually leaves me the gap what to talk about. So I thought since ma'am has actually told me to be speaking more about industry academia engagement or interface, which I've been doing for quite some time now. But then that's such a large subject. It's extremely difficult for me to, let's say, concentrate it and put it in a short capsule of 10 odd minutes. But nonetheless, let me try and give you some examples, only to actually anyway. So if you go to the next slide, but maybe while I am putting this is only while I perhaps may not look at that, but you can certainly look at that. See, the thing is, I also would want to share a story, a small story though, something akin to what Chintan Bhai said. It was that I worked for long in Baroda. I went to my company doctor, who was a postgraduate in allopathic medicine, my MD. He looked at me. In fact, he was a very unpopular doctor, by the way. But when I used to ask people, भैया unpopular क्यों है? कहता यार वो अलग type की medicine देता है और पता नहीं, I don't know, strange kind of a guy. I still went to him. He looked at my symptoms and said, so I can give you medicine, but I'm not sure whether it will work or not. As a matter of fact, he was right. But I can give you an allopathic, homeopathic medicine. Would you try it? I said, fine, I will not. I will, because I'm a scientist by heart. So he एक छोटी सी उसने कहा, he wrote something, कहता इसकी एक गोली है वो खा लेना. I looked at him, एक गोली? कहता चलो दो खा लेना. So believe me, I took it, and this idiopathic condition that I had served, it actually worked like magic. So clinical trial, the test that I did actually showed me cured of that. So that actually stems from the fact that these traditional modes of medicine actually have a lot of value in it. Perhaps they have to be given in the right manner and all that. But anyway, I'll not get into that. So I actually want to bring the whole discussion to the innovation process. And these are the stakeholders, if I may put it. Now, if I would want to ask the questions or wannabe entrepreneurs or innovators, now out of these stakeholders, while some of them are sitting here, who's the most important in your opinion? So I got the answer right. This is absolutely correct. Baki log to theek hai, they are enablers, but yes, consumer decides your innovation. Your innovation is as good as their endorsement. If they don't like it, your innovation is as good as nothing in relativistic terms and market related terms. Next slide, please. So see, I want to emphasize the two things. One is partnership and other is ecosystem. And when I talk of ecosystem, believe me, it means different things to different people in the context, to be fair to them in the context in which they are operating. But whenever we talk of ecosystem, and the larger ecosystem, it means many things. It's not just putting up incubator here and accelerator there. That's not enough. It's much more than that, particularly when we are talking about enabling technology or enabling research spin-offs. So whether it's R&D laboratories, it's the university system, the accelerators, incubators, maker labs industry, Chintan Bhai ne bataya, all of that. Why is that important? Because what I'm putting it on the left side, these are the reasons why this ecosystem is so important, particularly in the context of enabling an innovation or enabling a startup, and you talk about it a lot. But ye to was hard part. On the left side is the hard part, but on the on the right side is the processes, the policies. Now these are extremely important. There could be a college, there may be innovation by a student, but the college would not know how to treat that innovation, how to treat it as an IPR if that is resulting. Because see what Chintan also, see the thing, he's talking my language. The creator of knowledge only knows how to capture it. So it's both what is important from an institutional standpoint. While something is getting created, whether an idea is getting created or a value is getting created, you ought to capture it at some stage in life. Okay, then only there is realization of that innovation. Now, two things which stand out clearly, of course, stemming from the Honorable Prime Minister's address, WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine. Now, these are very strong components of an evolving ecosystem, extremely important. And things like AYUSH hallmark, because I talk a lot about intellectual property. Now, you see, the people who know this, who know the business, how to build a robust business, would appreciate the importance of these marks. Right, so it's nothing but a reflection of the quality standards that an innovator or an entrepreneur or even an ecosystem, regional or economic system talks about. Now, I'll give an example of a small, a new program which we indicated or we started. We call it Samriddh, Sustainable Access to Markets and Resources for Innovative Delivery of Healthcare. Now, this is a partnership model wherein USAID is trying to mobilize resources from large foundations and philanthropic bodies in the US, National Health Authority, and my institution, my organization at IIT Delhi. It's again a partnership model. And I would encourage startup companies who have innovative ideas, would want to scale that up, or maybe want to do a trial to enable a larger population of getting used to it or getting benefited from it. Please feel free to apply under the scheme. Now, why did I mention the scheme is basically to see how different elements strengthen an ecosystem, strengthen an innovation ecosystem. Next slide, please. Now, in the era of digitalization, in the era of disruption, which are the two factors we always talk about in my lectures, how they're actually shaping our modern economy, right? So no matter what, whether it's about using IT for cataloging, even if we talk in the narrow term of AYUSH, for example, so obviously, if you would want to make a disruptive move into this, you ought to have very strong relationship, very strong partnerships, particularly with academia. And I am a strong proponent of having very strong relationships with academia. I'm of university and universities and industry. And I give in my typical or my normal lectures, I give many examples of that. I might give a couple of them here as well. So this is efforts to find solutions to complex challenges can't be done alone. It has to be in a partnership mode. You may not believe me, but I can give you examples how it actually works. Next slide, please. Now, let us say the virtuous model, I call it. So I'm giving you two examples. One is the Applied Brain Research and the University of Waterloo, how they combined and created this. Basically, they brought the professor's lab and the industry in near vicinity. The typical research park model that Tanujaji talked about, which I'm leading at IIT Delhi. Now, other one, deep science company called Quintessence Labs. Now, Indian by name, Vikram Sharma, started it. He wanted to commercialize or bring to commerce the quantum technologies, which we are now talking. So at that point in time, it was way ahead of its time. Of course, now it has raised quite a bit of money, what we call has raised a lot of investments and has started delivering on the solutions using quantum technologies. So these are his words, not mine. Academia, government, and private industry. Now, in some terms, in Stanford, for example, they talk of the triple helix model. This is nothing but the articulation of the same thing here. Next slide, please. Now, just to give a couple of examples, John Scioppi from Stanford. Okay, so what was he doing along with the students working on the aspects of broadband? Just imagine, I'm just only wanting to give this example that how this intellectual property, which when transferred to industry, actually changed the entire landscape of broadband. So if we have broadband today, we can't live without internet, you all know. If broadband is one of the core technologies which got into and actually created billions and billions of dollars worth of market value is John Scioppi's Amati Communication, which sometime later was acquired by TI, that is Texas Instruments, at a decent valuation. Now, this is a very small valuation or a valuation I normally give by examples, but I think there are far more examples. The other one related to medicine is one by James Allison in 2018. I mean, of course, in 2018, he won a Nobel Prize on work, which gave a molecule and that got converted into a drug for a melanoma condition. Richard Silverman, nobody might have heard about it, but he was working in Northwestern University, perhaps better known through its Kellogg School, right? Chintan, that is the one. So this chap, he invented pegbalin. It was taken over by, I think, the company which was later acquired by, Warner Lambert and then acquired by Pfizer. Now, this one innovation gave so much of endowment, so much of, money to this university that it becomes one of the richest universities. As a matter of fact, in the typical industry academia collaboration, when we talk about the research, the monies raised through research or licensing, so Northwestern was way ahead of the Harvard, Stanfords, MITs, etc., etc. No, MITs and Stanfords have great overall, track record, but Northwestern actually shook them all around because of this particular innovation. Next slide, please. Maybe next slide. These are again examples of university contribution because ma'am told me. Next slide, please. So when we talk about industry academia collaboration, so I'm a strong believer that today many of the scientific accomplishments or scientific products or technology, deep technology products that we are seeing in the marketplace have their origins from the campus. In fact, in one of my slides, which I'm not showing today, I give many examples of great corporates which have come from or mushroomed from the campuses. Now, why academia is an ideal startup platform is for these reasons. I will not go into all the details because of paucity of time. I move on to the next slide. Just you thought I'm only giving examples from bahar ke, hamara kya haal hoga. So I take pride in being part of an institution which has given the maximum number of unicorns, if that unicorns is the standard by which you want to live by. And these are some of the companies, because our alums, our students have created many of the companies. And I think generally said, the IIT Delhi ke alums ne maximum number of unicorns create kiye hai. But I, for person, at my own personal level, I am not actually greatly carried away by this unicorn stuff. While what the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister said that we should have unicorns in the AYUSH sector, but what I look at is more than $1 billion of sales revenues coming in a business that gets created by the startups. Well, these are some of the examples, only few of the examples which I'm showing from IIT Delhi alums and students. I think I'm done with that. And maybe I'll ask one last question. Oh, yeah. I said, I gave some examples of innovators or entrepreneurs from the campuses. Now, I'll ask a general question. One of the strongest chip manufacturer for the mobile platforms is Qualcomm, right? Yes or no? बाकी और भी है, Qualcomm है. Qualcomm का founder कौन था या co-founder कौन था? One of them, and he happens to be from university system. देख लो, Google कर लो, search कर लो, and you'll get the answer. So that is a question for you today, and thank you very much.
बहुत ही, I think it's a motivational and inspirational speech. And the tagline, what we understand for your presentation is, the university student has the greatest risk tolerance. So I'm sure our young budding entrepreneurs will take that risk, and Anil Wali and his team are ready to give you the mentorship and support. And many जैसे Qualcomm, ऐसे आयुष के भी कई सारे यूनिकॉर्न की सफल स्टोरी आगे के प्रेजेंटेशन में अनिल वाली जी हमें बताएंगे कि आई हैव गिवन यू द सपोर्ट. थैंक यू सर. एंड इन दिस लाइन हमारे पास कुछ सक्सेसफुल स्टार्टअप स्टोरी बताने के लिए द वन हु इज रियली एंटरप्रेन्योर ऑलरेडी हमारी बताने के लिए आज यहाँ पे है. I now may I request Sri Deepak Parikh ji, CEO, AgriWatch, Director, India Gram Labs Foundation, to share his story and tell us about investment and funding opportunities in medicinal plant value chain. And please give him big hand. I would like to tell the story of Deepak Parikh ji as Deepak Parikh ji is a well decorated technocrat honored as top 10 agropreneur in 2019 by Future Agro Challenges Greece and technology pioneer in 2018 by World Economic Forum Switzerland. Deepak is an influencer in blockchain and agrotech domain, being regular speaker, moderator, evangelist. Deepak is CEO of AgriWatch, a consulting firm that provides marketing intelligence, research and advisory service across the agribusiness value chain. Deepak is also co-founder of Benzil 10, a SEBI-registered venture capital firm focused on investing in agriculture and food technology. So I'm sure you will definitely tell us your knowledge, how we develop startup in medicinal plant and also in the food technology. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for this opportunity. It's real pleasure to be speaking at this August event. So Kemcho Ahmedabad. It's a Gandhinagar, right? Actually, I stay in Ahmedabad, so most of the time it comes there. So Gujarat is land of a lot of firsts, right? I can recall in 2011, I was standing here only for an event called Vibrant Gujarat. This was the first event at Mahatma Mandir. And the effort which was put by the CM of that time under the Honorable current Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, was humongous. Just 11 months before that, there was nothing here, hardly anything. And in 11 months, this whole thing came up and it became a global event. So the large event, and from those events, creating the knowledge, I believe this is where this land of Gandhi has been able to give to the world and especially to India. Now talking about few things which are very important. We had a great presentation from my previous speakers who talked about how to become a great entrepreneur and how to ensure that you become a unicorn in AYUSH. Now let me show you some of the opportunity in the sector. So today I'll be talking about what are the opportunities, and the focus would be definitely global, because while we will be Atmanirbhar, but we have to have our eyes on the world. Can we have the next slide, please? So if you see that the global opportunity, we are talking about 120 billion US dollars, growing at alarming pace of 14.88%. And by 2050, this market would be $7 trillion. And what we are talking is a market, medicinal plants, herbs, and house product. Now that is what the current market size is. But are we doing justice while we say ourselves having a traditional knowledge of AYUSH, that we are not even the 1% of this market? China is around 12 times of our size while capturing this market. So in the world, I travel across the world and I found there are two traditional knowledge base in medicine which are respected. One is ours and other is Chinese. But why they are 12 times? So if you say we Indians, we are able to export herbs, medicinal plant, and herbal product close to 1.13 billion US dollars, and our domestic consumption is $3 billion. So there is a humongous opportunity, because as per the WHO, across the world, 80% of the people would be having plant-based medical intervention for sure. Typically 20,000 species are used, and out of that 6,500 happens to be in India. And out of that we only trade 1,000, and only 176 odd are having market size of more than 100 metric tons. Now that shows where is the opportunity and where we are. Can we go to the next slide, please? So now what is the reason we are where we are? The lack of research and development. R&D is definitely happening in institutions, but it's not happening at the grassroots level. We are having far too little R&D happening in the sector. We need to do more. Lack of standardization. We Indians always say that we are having all the components, but we'll never have a system. So we are having beautiful components. Today we are having that talk, and those components we are not unfortunately able to put together. And I believe in going forward we will be able to do that. We Indians also don't like too much of following rules, right? We have to put fine to even get people masks. And that is also impacting our business, because we unfortunately are not adopting good agricultural and collection practices. We are not adopting the good manufacturing practices, which are the standards in case you want to tap the global opportunity. We lack market as well as market linkages. While majority of these are produced by small companies, is gathered from the forest, is cultivated by small farmers. Taking these products to market has always been a big challenge. And unfortunately, we have not been able to create sufficient market traction and market linkages. We need to do more on that. Lack of economy of scale. Why China has been doing what they are doing, and why we are struggling a little bit in this sector. One of the reasons is that whenever they dream on a large scale. You go to a city and you'll find that that city is producing just one type of product. They always think about serving the world. You'll be surprised to know that 97% of companies which are close to 9,000 in India, which are involved in this sector, are very small or small companies. We have to ensure that these companies become unicorn, and that should be the dream, because then only we'll be able to have economy of scale. And last but not least, we are still not using modern technology, especially technologies like traceability, technology in extraction, technology in processing. We need to move forward and adopt those technologies. Can we have next slide? But typically, we find that the value chains of these products are not very complicated. You have raw material coming through collection or through farming. Then you are having basic process of extraction. And all these raw materials typically are consumed for phytopharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, or food supplement in common parlance, and cosmetics. So while we are seeing that the value chain is not rocket science, still we are not able to address some of those issues, which I'm trying to bring in front of people for a very simple reason. I see this as an opportunity for entrepreneurs and incubators and the venture capital companies like ourselves. Because we see to solve some of these challenges of this value chain, you need a lot of investment. And can you go to next slide? And this is where you see in next 5 years, close to $108 billion or $1 billion would be invested in this sector. So that's not a small amount. So typically you are looking at roughly $19.4 million being invested in cultivation part of the business, around 8.6 million in aggregation, roughly 28 in formulation, 15.1 in processing, and roughly 36.7% in distillation and refining. Now that gives the opportunity. And all the young entrepreneurs who are sitting here, please see this number. These $108 million would be invested, and a good part of that can come to your pockets, provided you can do what Mr. Chintan said, from problem identification to giving the value to the customer. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, this is very interesting slide, and I believe, like, all those who want to get into AYUSH should capture that in their mind. Because at the end of the day, we'll have to play on our strength, ensure we rectify our weakness, grab the opportunities, and minimize the threat. So typically, you'll find that what are the strengths? We are having such a beautiful country, which is having so many agroclimatical zones, multiple type of soil types. The 20,000 species I talked about, majority of them, in fact, 87% of them can be grown in India. So what is being grown in past does not need to be grown in future if there is no market, but you can definitely grow something which there the market is. So we have a beautiful country with possibility of growing everything. We are having very low cost base. That's another strength. Whether we are talking about in the farming or agriculture domain, or we are talking about in manufacturing domain, the cost is low, and we can always leverage as an entrepreneur that. Last but not the least in strength, the traditional knowledge we have. Our gurus, our Ayurveda acharyas, they are having such a deep level of knowledge. Unfortunately, we are not tapping them sufficiently. Already looking at some of the solutions which we have. So opportunity is huge. Then the renewed focus on the wellness itself. When we were locked down in our houses, right, we were all trying to see that actually mera weight nahi badh jaye, right? I'm not getting sufficient place to walk. So I'm pretty sure that like at least 10 to 15% people would have started doing more work at their home, right, just to be fit. We have understood that our immunity is important. We tried from kadas to everything to boost our immunity. Why? Because if you are having good immunity, definitely your cost of healthcare would be low. So we are looking at a world which would be having far more focus on wellness than just healthcare. And then we are having another opportunity because the government in place. The event which we are having today, that itself shows how aggressive the government is in identifying the traditional capability of India and converting that to opportunity for people of this country. All you youngsters, you are having one of the best opportunity to be in entrepreneurship. In fact, I created my first company, which was called Honeybee, which was a social media technology company because of influence of Sri Narendra Modi himself. I worked with CMO from 2008 to 2011 and was doing a lot of work on a concept called Chief Minister to Common Man using social media. And after doing that, I said, let me start my own company because social media data analytics is a good business. So again, there is an inspiration where when we say AYUSH is a big market, government is there to support you, so much of incubators through AIC, all of this can make your life very easy to be a successful entrepreneur. And then coming to weakness, climate change. I won't go deep into that. We all know climate change can be a big threat. And also, we have to understand that we are not able to compete with some of the advanced economies. And we'll have to, it's on us to change that. Can we go to the next slide? Now, a little bit about the organization we are having under our umbrella. So I happens to be heading CEO of AgriWatch. I'm also on the board of director of a company called Indigram Lab Foundation. The reason I would like to talk about Indigram Lab Foundation is that all of your ideas, we are the people who write the first check. We are the people who make you investment ready. We are the people who get you the first revenue. As an incubator in agri-tech, food tech, health tech domain, we have been working with close to 200 startups since 2016. They have been able to generate revenues in thousands of crores and investment worth hundreds of crores so far. And that is because actually when they came to us, it was just an idea. And that idea along with them, we walked and we were able to convert them in a viable business, which has been invested by companies, venture capital companies like Sequoia to name few. Going to the next slide. Now you'll find all the big name of EdTech are on this slide. Now this is not a slide which says that what is Indian EdTech startup ecosystem all about. These are the company which we have supported. Some of them, they are very close to becoming a unicorn. So I would request all the youngsters, please reach out to us. We believe there is a huge opportunity to work with you. And with you, we believe we can definitely create not one, multiple unicorn in AYUSH. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Parikji. It was really eye-opener, and you really gave us the SWOT analysis of what should be done in this blockchain and the value chain. So thank you very much. And I'm sure many youngsters will approach to Parikji for having this food chain, the AYURTech, and many other solutions. Thank you. Now, since we are running out of time, I would request all the speakers to be brief in time. And very, very importantly, we have Sri Sanjay Jainji, who had joined online from US, who is the Chief Innovation Officer for Center of Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship from IIM Ahmedabad. We listened to IITs, but now it's time to listen to what should be the management from IIM Ahmedabad. And we request him to tell us about how the Bharat Innovation Fund supports innovation and products at a scale. And I must, there is a long CV of Sri Jainji, but for the audience, we would like to tell that Sanjay holds an MS in Computer Sciences from University of California, Los Angeles, and BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Mumbai. He has done many things, but what is important for us that he has been one of key contributors to help create and individualize various government APIs, which are collectively referred to as the India Stack. These APIs have led to a digitalization of various processes, enabling them to go paperless, cashless, and presenceless. So I'm thankful to you, Sanjay ji, and now the floor is yours, because we know that Aadhaar, UPI, and you are the mastermind behind that. So it is over to you, Sanjay ji. Please tell us about how you support us to take the product at scale.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure for me to join this event. Very unfortunately, I was unable to be there in person, and but my best wishes to the audience out there. This is something very exciting to see that we are organizing something around AYUSH for the first time, and the innovation ecosystem really needs to step in and support our traditional way of doing health, so that we can actually take everything to the next stage. I have a small deck which I'm going to use for my conversation, and I'm going to just start to present it. Just a minute, there's some technical glitch. Great. I think it should be visible now. Uh, so, so I'm associated with IIM Ahmedabad, but I actually don't have a management degree, ma'am. I'm an engineer at heart. I like to build things, and but what IIM Ahmedabad has been doing is really for many years it has looked at entrepreneurship as a stream to be supported in the sense of from a management point of view, how can we improve opportunities and get things to life. So for at least about 15 to 20 years, the institute has been focused on trying to support entrepreneurship, to study how it can be developed and promoted. And in the process, about a decade ago, IIM Ahmedabad set up the Center for Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship as a center of excellence with support from the Government of India, from the Department of Science and Technology, as well as the Government of Gujarat. And this center has been a way for us to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem in many different ways. It was one of the earliest incubators and accelerators in the country. And now we've sort of rebranded as CII.co. And that is, because we believe that innovation is a continuum and it starts from an idea, but then it goes a long way. So what we do is here is that we start with incubation, where we identify early stage teams, and we then focus not just on our major cities in India, but we do look for.
Excuse me, Sanjay ji, your presentation is not visible. So maybe
It's not?
You can. Yes, it is not the slides. We do not see your slides.
Oh, I'm surprised because I'm sharing it on WebEx. So maybe I'll just talk through it then, because I think, at least even if the visuals are not there, I can maybe just talk through them. So what we do is we identify solid teams and startups in the early stages, and we typically focus on our startup hotspots as well as the tier 2 and tier 3 cities in the country. We then help them with catalytic capital. We typically work with various organizations that are looking to promote entrepreneurship, and they typically give us grants, which we then pass on through the startups. We also help them get debt and equity, and thus we support them in their journey. While this is happening, we work with them and the industry to understand the various trends that are there so that we can analyze it. We can convert this to actionable research. And this research is then used to go back to support the startups. For example, if by research we identify that there's a certain technology which is potentially available to disrupt a market which is ready for disruption, then we try and bring the two together to make it happen. And this really allows entrepreneurs the opportunity to take things ahead. And then we've gone on to actually also create a small fund, which is in-house, that we then use to do early stage financing for disruptive companies. And then eventually once, just like I think some of our previous speakers spoke about, Deepak Parekh ji mentioned investment, which then the VC community takes up and can then support. That's what we would love to see happen more. So our focus is on community, capital, and capability. In terms of community, we have built a large network of people with backgrounds in all of the stages of this work. So we have people who help us with really early stage ideas, innovation around that. We have partners who have also been a part of really large investment firms. And so we basically are able to bridge that gap between the two. We also have strategic advisors who come from the industry. These include people like Nandan Nilekani, Sanjeev Bhikchandani, Kiran Karnik, Bobby Mehta, uh, uh, Geeta Goyal, and so on. And these are folks who have actually been part of the entrepreneurship journey for many, many people, and they are available to us to give us very strategic advice on what we do, and to our entrepreneurs as well as to how they go ahead. Unfortunately, the slides are not visible, and there's just like a large number of logos on these slides. We have partnered with investors and leading organizations, as well as governments, foundations, corporations from around the world. And this is our partner list goes into 50 to 100 partners. And I'm just going to read out some large names from here. In terms of foundations, we have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, you have JP Morgan, we have the Dell Foundation, we have HDFC Bank, we have Facebook, we have many investors as well. And with all of them, we have worked together to support the early stage ecosystem. This actually then allows us to find the right kind of capital to support them. And in terms of AYUSH, that's something which we really would love to see is at least, get in early capital grants and to seed the ecosystem. I think Deepak Parekh ji put up a list of companies which was very interesting. And before that, I think Dr. Wali as well. I think now you can see some of the slides.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Right. Though I think it is at the wrong slide, but so yeah. So what we have done is we work with many companies who are looking to promote the early stage ecosystem. So we have done work in space tech, robotics, where we found the leaders in the space to come and work with us to then support early stage companies in that space, because that then builds up the ecosystem. And currently we are looking at a focus in food and agri, consumer, healthcare, and all of these we think would have very important linkages with the AYUSH ecosystem. The other place where we think the work we are doing might be important is in the linkages to financing and to marketplaces, because these are spaces where we already have a fair amount of expertise and partnerships that can be brought in to support these early stage ideas. As a firm, we have been active for about 10 years. We've supported over 1,000 plus startups in this process, including through catalytic capital. We currently manage about 600 crores of capital with our funds, and we have our portfolio companies have raised and they're about 1,000 to 1,500 crores in follow-on capital, which has then helped them to grow. Every year we work with over 2,000 startups across the many programs we run. And so far, they've been around financial inclusion, sustainability, in fintech, skilling tech, agri as well. And we also have sector agnostic schemes through which we look at startups. So for example, the power of ideas with the Economic Times. And all of these, I think, help us to find the right space in the entrepreneurship ecosystem to then bring about the change. And here again, we then work with many different partners who provide both incubation. We provide some as well, but we work with partners who do that, provide upskilling and mentorship. And for that, we have collected a large number of partners who come in with their experts and mentors to support this ecosystem. And then we put together a toolbox including early stage research for training for the entrepreneurs themselves. We disseminate this through publications, roundtables, and workshops. And so we are here, which are ready to support the early stage entrepreneurial ecosystem. And we would love to sort of begin a focus on the AYUSH ecosystem and would encourage both the youngsters who are in the audience to come in with their ideas so we can work with them, as well as I would invite my co-panelists to be part of the conversations so that we can join forces and see how we can bring about a change in this ecosystem. So with that, I would like to thank all of you once again, and thank you, Professor Nesri.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. In spite of odd hours, you really joined with us and gave what the IIM Ahmedabad can offer us as a startup support. Thank you very much, and we look forward and we appeal to each and everyone to approach Bharat Foundation under your leadership so that we'll just take up the startup initiatives of AYUSH forward. Thank you very much. We have already the time is already running short, so we have a very, very important speaker. So I would definitely request them to be brief within 4 to 5 minutes each. Bala Pesla, he's the one founder CEO of AI deep tech company started with the goal of realizing evidence-based Ayurveda. And it is the Ayur Tech now, the next level, supported by Ministry of Ayush Center of Excellence at IIT Jodhpur, and Bala Pesla is spearheading those along with Mitali Mukherjee and others. So Bala Pesla, he is the IIT graduate from the Madras, and he have many solutions to offer how cutting edge technologies support the Ayush startup. Thank you. Bala Pesla ji, over to you. It is your skill how you give the message within 4 to 5 minutes. Bala Pesla.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the dignitaries and all the young people present in the audience, even after an hour past lunchtime. So today, I'm going to talk about how cutting-edge technologies can foster innovation in our sector. I've been given a task. So you can see the target is $100 billion by 2030. So that's a 5-fold increase. There may be doubters, but I show them the energy that is present in the conference and all the 100+ young students who are in the audience now, who have not gone for lunch and stayed to listen to how to create innovative companies in this sector. I can tell you, if you listen to my presentation, you can create at least 5 to 6 unicorns. Not a unicorn with $1 billion valuation, according to me. It's a unicorn which can affect greater than billion lives in the world. I want to start with a personal journey since the time is short, why I got into Ayurveda, because I've been asked this question. You're an engineer, what motivated you to Ayurveda? Couple of years, 8 years back, I got diagnosed with chronic gastritis. I went to the doctor. He said, I'll do a test. He did a biopsy and he said, you have advanced stage of ulcer. So I asked him, what do I do? He said, stop eating spicy food. I got shocked. I'm from AP. We eat the most spicy food in the whole country. I said, how can I do that? He said, if you stop, in 3 weeks, you'll get better. So I took a lot of courses of antibiotics, not just 3 weeks. 3 years, nothing happened. So like everyone else, I went to Ayurveda and I met the doctor. He was so good that he cured partially my disease. Then I said, there must be something in this Ayurveda. So I started this company with the goal of realizing evidence-based Ayurveda. And I have listed as myself as the first subject in my own clinical study 3 months back. And I can tell you now, I'm completely cured of my disease. So next slide. So the opportunity is huge. Next. So we are migrating from the current, reactive care to highly personalized care. And this is where, if you look at health and wellness market, $4 trillion, that's equivalent to the funding or the spending in the healthcare. This is where I strongly believe Ayurveda has great potential. We don't talk about disease first. We talk about baseline health, and then subsequently we give recommendations. That's the beauty of Ayurveda, highly personalized and holistic. Next. Next, please. So if you're looking to create successful companies, right, you can create in any part of the value chain. I'm sure every part of the value chain listed here requires deep innovations. Next. So I want to spend, maybe 30 seconds in first impressing upon you that we need to get the basics right. I meet so many young people, they have creativity to do something in Ayurveda, but if we cannot explain Ayurveda in the terms that people can understand, we cannot create a global system of medicine. It will always remain an Indian system of medicine. So that's why I thought I'll give an analogy. Sorry for the equations. I'm a professor, so I tend to put equations. You look at, Newton's law, right? It was, in hundreds of years before it's a law, so it's approximation. So next, please. So then Einstein came along and he explained the Newton's law in a more generic term. And now we know from string theory why gravity happens, right? So I think we're at the early stages, same in Ayurveda. Next. There has been huge scientific body of evidence that is created. Now we know that there is genetic evidence, there is biochemical evidence, there is metagenomic evidence, right? And there's epigenetic evidence for extreme phenotypes of Ayurveda. And we require all the young minds to spend more time creating an evidence in this field. That's when we'll become global. Next. So drug discovery, I will not spend a lot of time. We have stalwarts here who have commercialized Ayurveda drugs. I want to emphasize that there is a process, scientific process, next please, which follow how to do drug discovery. And in the positive time, I'll not, you can take a picture, I'll not tell how drug discovery is done, but I would just want to say 30 years back, there's a professor, Yu from China. She spent 10 years discovering an anti-malarial drug called artemisinin, right? And some of you may know that it has helped cure malaria for millions of people, but it took 10 years. So there's no shortcuts for success. You have to spend that time. And you can ask me, what is the benefit? She cured malaria for millions of people. Not only that, she won a Nobel Prize in 2015. So I'm sure a lot of you in the audience here will be able to create successful Ayurveda drugs, blockbuster drugs that can help millions of people. And we have a great example of, company by Sri Kartikeya here who have commercialized ashwagandha on a global scale. I also want to, next please, I also want to just briefly touch about another company, Indus Biotech. It's the most comprehensive company that I have found, 200 plus patents in this field and 72 peer-reviewed publications. This is the standard that we need to set. Next. Point of care devices, next please. Huge opportunity. If you can do drug standardization and quality check at the point of care, that will give a lot of confidence to Ayurveda and also to people in export markets. There's emerging field called genetic barcoding, which can tell you where exactly the plant has started. Next. Precision agriculture, Deepak talked about a lot about medicinal plants. So slightly different spin. If you can use the best technology, you can use the IoT sensors, you can engineer the environment, and more importantly, the soil microbiome. You can create medicinal plants of huge value. And this is a huge opportunity for all the young people. Next. So just last two slides about what we are trying to do. We have a saying, in God we trust, but everybody else must bring data. So data is what we plan to bring in this field. So that's why I've started this company. Next. So we are combining best Ayurveda principles with digital markers, and we are creating evidence with the advanced biochemical and genomic markers. We feel that will give the necessary evidence in this field to deliver highly personalized Ayurveda. Next. So this is an app. You can contact me. We have started collecting a lot of data of people, and it's very important that we have a structured way of collection of the data, and we are using advanced AI algorithms to first diagnose people and give therapeutic recommendations. Next. Huge opportunities for big data analytics. This is some of the discussions that we had with Ministry of AYUSH. We have so much data in the field, right? Can we curate all the data and can we prevent diseases before they happen, right? We know, for example, in Delhi, there are so many breathing problems that people face, right, during Diwali time. Can we have big data analytics so that we can give preventive recommendations for people? Next. Last slide. I would like to thank Minister of AYUSH for funding the Center of Excellence at IIT Jodhpur. As you can see, this is a highly nonlinear idea, right? Bringing together the best engineers from IITs and the best people from both AIMS Jodhpur and also we have Professor Abhimanyu here, Ayurveda University, to create a system to bring in evidence in this field. As you can see, we are targeting metabolic disorders, but you can see the framework is very complete, starting from diagnostics to therapeutics to validation. I would like to also, acknowledge the people who are leading this effort. They have been in this field for more than 10 years. And I'm sure this Ayurtech Center of Excellence funded by Minister of Ayush and Kotesha sir will create a benchmark in how to do Ayurveda research to the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala Peslaji, in a very, very crisp and even with the cutting edge technology you presented, how this cutting edge technology can help Ayurveda startups. Thank you. And now last but not least, we have Sri Kartikeya Baldeva, CEO KSM Ashwagandha. He is a chemical engineer as a graduate, but studied business management at Graduate School of Business at Stanford University, California. Kartikeya Baldava, through its experience as a CEO of Exorial Biomed, a company based out of Hyderabad and Los Angeles, doing the business in Ashwagandha. And I really am happy to say that because we started about A to Z of startup with Chintanji, and now we are closing the remark with the success story of Kartikeyanji. He will be the first unicorn of Ayush in Ashwagandha. And we are really happy to announce that he can share his success story, how you can become the first unicorn in Ayush. Over to you, Kartikeyan.
Thank you very much. What an August gathering and a pretty bad timing to be the last speaker. I know everybody been looking at their watches, and 2 days back when I saw that I was the last speaker, just before the lunch break, I told my team to just put in some interesting slides so that I could just wake you up before you guys head out to the lunch. Congratulations to the Ministry of Ayush, especially under the leadership of Secretary, to bring in such an unprecedented event. I regret that I missed the first 2 days of this event, but what I see today is phenomenal. And I hope that Ministry of Ayush can continue this momentum every single year. Next slide. So I'll take KSM 66 Ashwagandha as a case study. That's our only product the entire company does. We are not a finished product. We are an ingredient company. And I would like to tell you that usually it's the B2C and the D2C brands that gets a lot of prominence. But I believe that even a B2B brand can make a difference, and we have been around for 10 years. I remember 10 years back when we first took Ashwagandha to the US, it was like a tongue twister. People couldn't even pronounce the word Ashwagandha properly. Today, we are the biggest Ashwagandha exporter from the country. We hold a market share of more than 65% global Ashwagandha. We go into more than 1,500 products of the brands that you see on the screen. These are the brands perhaps 10 years back didn't even know what Ayurveda is. And today they have been using KSM 66 in multiple of their products, right from Walmart, GSK, Pfizer, to Costco and Nature's Bounty. Next slide. Well, since I just have been given 5 minutes, I'll try to keep it extremely crisp. What I believe are the main business mantras, which contributed to the success of KSM 66. Well, I don't think so. These mantras can be applied just for Ayurveda. I believe these can be applied across any industry vertical. Next slide, please. The first one, of course, is quality and efficacy. If the product, you may do some great branding and marketing, but if the product is not efficacious, it's not of high quality, it wouldn't sell, perennially. This is where Ixorial invested a lot. Quality that KSM 66 has built up and the way we have invested into top quality production processes. So our product is a research of 14 years, which has gone into it, and it's backed by science. We have invested heavily into clinical studies. You and us, all of us know that Ayurveda works, but the Western countries demand evidence. They want evidence-based science. This is where we invested heavily into clinical studies, taking the pharmaceutical route. And also not just that, but we are obsessed about quality. We are the only company in the world with 41 quality certifications. Anything and everything that one could think of, we got that on board. Second, please. Next slide. Branding. Now, this is a topic which is very, very close to my heart. When you think of large corporations, let's say Ferrari, you feel something about it, right? When you think about Nike, it represents sports, it represents power. And I think branding is more emotional. It represents who you are, what your company is, what your products are. And this is where I think we took a very different approach. I'll tell you what we did at KSM 66. So we have expats from Europe, since Europe is one of our major markets. We have people from Spain, Germany, France, sitting in our offices in India, and communicating with our customers out there. We also have a marketing collaterals in these respective languages. I remember Prime Minister talking about this in his Mann Ki Baat, encouraging all the AYUSH startups to have their websites in different regional languages, not just English, but global languages of the world. We also invested, it's very important to invest into a good design and communication agency, and also what we did is we make sure that whenever we supply our branded ashwagandha extract to any company in the world, we make it mandatory for them to list our ingredient name, on the bottle. So it's just not just ashwagandha, but branding goes a long way. Next slide, please. Third thing, of course, is marketing, which is very essential. I haven't put sales here because I believe that if you do great marketing, your product sells automatically. Marketing, again, divided into two different types. One is B2B, since we are in the B2B space. I would like to let you know that we are the only company in the world to title sponsor all the leading major trade shows. And I think this was a turning point for us way back in 2016. There are 7 industry leading trade shows in the world, and KSM 66 has been title sponsor for all these trade shows. Next slide, please. We also realize that it's also important to take the message across the end consumers. So we have used influencers in the US and Europe, like Chris Killam. He's a television celebrity who keeps coming every day on television in the US. We've been extensively covered by prestigious media outlets in the world, right from New York Times to Wall Street Journal to Fox News. I'll show you a pretty interesting 2-minute video here, just to show you that where ashwagandha has gone today globally. Next slide, please. It's just a 1.5-minute video. If you could just see this, and just go back. Fox News spoke about ashwagandha for 15 minutes. We were featured on Saturday Night Live, and we had some celebrity endorsements from Jennifer Lopez and Brad Pitt in the US talking about ashwagandha. Next, of course, is innovation. I believe, I like the quote from Steve Jobs where he says that innovation is something that differentiates a follower and a leader. So it's all to be at the forefront of the business. It's really important to be an innovator. Your customers are always looking for something new, and by the time you create something new, you get competition. You need to think something much beyond that. So that is where you see our innovation team, we introduce concepts to the entire world. Today, ashwagandha goes into more than 45 delivery formats. We go into a burger, we go into a soup, we go into pizza. Nobody ever imagined your product is good for sale, you definitely need to invest in good infrastructure because transparency and sustainability have taken a center stage globally, you know. So we have built a world-class supply chain. We have our own ashwagandha farms where we do extensive organic cultivation, state-of-the-art manufacturing units, and our own distribution. Next slide. That's the last slide. Corporate social responsibility. Again, this is something which is very close to my heart. And you know, happy employees thrive in happy communities. So if vegetable vendor complied and deleted the word, leaving just 2 words, sold here. After a while, an elderly woman walked up to him and he said, "You're sitting in a market, you're not selling your veggies for free, aren't you? So why do you even put the word sold?" The vegetable seller deleted sold, leaving just the last word here. A schoolboy passing by laughed at him and he said, "We all know that you are sitting here and not there, so why the word here? Even delete that off." The vegetable seller deleted all the last word as well, keeping the whiteboard clean and empty. After a minute, another man walked up to him and he said, "You know, a stupid person would be the one who would keep such a clean board, a whiteboard clean and empty. Why don't you write something to advertise about your vegetables?" So all of us here, you know, there are people who make suggestions, there are people to give us advice. Uh, but it's also important that we don't lose our voice in the advice, in the noise of advice of others. You know, take good advice, but learn the art of navigating through that advice to follow your own journey. Thank you.
Very good. And I think that should be the conclusion and the great conclusion. Fresh vegetables sold here. Your own journey you narrated, and very good presentation, crisp presentation, and it is most motivational and inspiration to our young guys who are sitting at the back of the benches. Thank you very much. I think it was a very fruitful journey from A to Z to the end story of the unicorn. So the last at the hands of the minister and then felicitation of all our guests. Please come forward, sir. And thank you very much for being with us all the time for this panel. Please give big hand to all our runner-up. Shiv Kumar, yes.
Yeah, thank you, madam. It's the time to announce the runners-up of the Startup Challenge winner. In the category of food innovations, the runner-up award goes to Dr. Sapna Kumari. I request sirs, dignitaries to felicitate the winner. She was awarded for the idea of therapeutic foods of Sansari Krama. I request the dignitaries.
Yes,
to award them.
Sapna Kumari, it is a Sansarjan Kram and the therapeutic.
Yeah, she has an
she
idea of
delivered it.
how
So
Sansari Krama.
congratulations. And I thank Chintan Vaishnavji, Anil Wali for being at the jury. Sir,
Uh, we had the runner-up winner in the AYUSH IT Solutions is Abhilash of Praman Ayurotech. Unfortunately, he's not available with us. So we have in the area of AYUSH bioinstrumentation,